Hello there, this is Ty the Movie Guy, and as you all know, 2024 has officially ended and 2025 has officially begun. So today we are going to count down my top 10 favorite movies of 2024.
Why you son of a great power comes great responsibility.
My brother and a
You do this all day. I am. Why so serious?
So I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Kicking off our list in number 10, we have the film Monkey Man. And this is just a really solid action film about like a one-man army taking on all these guys. It's kind of in the same vein as John Wick, but where it differs from John Wick is it's more like plot-centric and like has like a slower start, and then it builds, and then it has like a slam bang finale of just like tons of guys getting killed left, right, and center, and it's just so fun to watch. So yeah, it's got lots of like the choreography and the stylized imagery like John Wick and everything, but it does differ a bit with like, you know, a slower start and everything. And I like John Wick more, but I respect that it took its own unique path to separate itself from other action movies like it. And also being set in India opposed to just America also really does set it apart. They do a lot of cool scenes that you couldn't really do in America. The first thing that comes to mind is the tuk-tuk chase, like, you know, those little taxi buggies in India and other countries like that they take people around in. You just couldn't do something like that in America because, you know, America doesn't have tuk-tuk. So seeing something like that is something you can only really do in a kind of international, or this film isn't international, but it's like set not in America. So yeah, it's something you could only do in like a country like this. So I like just the seeing new locations like this opposed to, you know, just America over and over again. The Indian culture, the slower story, the revenge story of this guy's trying to avenge his mom and all of that, it just really separates it from other action films. And this is also Dev Patel's very first directorial debut, so he's off to a great start, and I'd love to see either a sequel to this film or just more action-y centric films directed by him. So great job, Dev Patel, and I'm super excited to see more of your work, and that's why it comes in number 10. In ninth place, we have the film Hundreds of Beavers, and this is easily the most unique movie on this list because it's got like part cartoon, slapstick gags and humor and stuff, even though it's live action, and then it's like part video game where there's a map, and as the hunter guy keeps traveling, like the map expands and he's got to like collect different items to trade and different stuff like that, which just like screams video games. So like put that all together and it just makes for such a unique movie and experience of something I've never seen before. And yeah, it's just really funny, and it manages to be funny without like any dialogue or anything, just like the way of like displaying different like gags and stuff like that, just without any dialogue, is like really impressive to make me laugh without talking at all and stuff like that. And just like the production behind it, it's like very like low budget, kind of small scale, like mainly just like one guy in front of a green screen doing all of this stuff, which is just like really impressive and just really goes to show you can like in today's world with today's technology, you can really do anything if you just put your mind to it and stuff like that. And, you know, whoever was behind this movie definitely like just put their all into this movie and did such a great job. And I'd love to see, just like I said with Monkey Man, I'd love to see this director and crew and everything do more stuff in this vein. Like I'd love, you know, this one's more snowy centric and stuff like that, so I'd love to see one in like a desert, because when I think of like cartoons and stuff, I think of like Roadrunner, and then like I could definitely see not exactly Roadrunner, but like desert-y-esque, like some guy hunting around and like failing and getting hurt and stuff like that, and just in the same vein, I could definitely see a really good story with that whole terrain. So all in all, definitely the most unique film of this whole list, and it's just goes to show you how creative you could be on a low budget. Just put your mind to it and you can do great things. So that's why it comes in ninth place. In eighth place, we have the film Alien Romulus, and what's great about this film is the fact that they went back to their roots and like kind of like ignored like the crap that they've done before. Like I don't want like big CGI budget. I don't want like Alien prequels like Covenant and Prometheus. Like I don't care where the xenomorph came from. I just want more close quarters, spooky vibes of people like roaming around a spaceship and getting wiped out. And they definitely like accomplished that with this film. They definitely went back to their roots, back to like what made the first two films so great, and they just did a great film in that same style. And so what's great about this film is the fact that, like, number one is probably just all of the practical effects. They just, everywhere they could, they did things practical, like the face huggers. They're like little remote controls and everything, and they actually got them to jump out of water and off the ground and stuff. And like the xenomorph is like actually like an animatronic, and they like got it to pounce, and they just, I guess, edited out the wiring and everything behind it. But then like the primary thing is like actually real, and I'm just very appreciative for that. And I don't know if I'm just saying this because I know it's practical, or because I actually felt it in the film, but I like to think, like, as watching the film, it really just feels more genuine, and just it's more enjoyable of a film when you actually see the sets and the creatures and everything, and you know it's real. It just makes for more of an enjoyable experience. And with this film, I just love all of the setups. They just like tease so many different things, and then there's just payoff towards the end of the film, like stuff about like the gravity and stuff about like the acid blood. It just all like pays off towards the end of the film. And then the couple things I wasn't crazy about is, no real like big name actors in this. Like I got past it, like as I watched the film, like you forget about that, so I don't really care too much about that. And then also the ending with the whole monster baby thing, it's like, I'm kind of glad they took like a unique term, because you can only do xenomorphs for too long before they get boring. But also at the same time, xenomorphs are like what makes Alien good and unique and everything. So like on one hand they were trying to be unique, but on the other hand the creature is what makes the film. So I'm still like 50-50 on like the whole ending thing, but all in all, it was just a solid Alien film, and I'd love to see a sequel to this with like, our two surviving characters, or I want to see more Fede Alvarez aliens, or just anything in this vein with the practical close quarter stuff. I am down for, so that's why it comes in 8th place. Coming in 7th place, we have the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and I loved the trilogy from the past decade, the whole Andy Serkis Caesar trilogy, so I'm so happy that we're getting like somewhat of a continuation, different characters but same universe, and the events of those films like definitely like still like have a big impact in this new film and continuity and everything. So I'm just very thankful for that, and just I love seeing this world. The whole overgrown cities and everything is just really great to see, and I'm sad Matt Reeves didn't come back for this film, but I think bringing in Wes Ball was also a great choice, because he has a great background with kind of like post-apocalyptic stuff like this, of course, with like the Maze Runner trilogy. So bringing him into a film like this was a really great choice. And then also our new set of characters are really fun, specifically our new main lead, Noah. He's a pretty good character, not as good as Caesar, of course, but I think he's got room to grow and become as good as Caesar as the more movies progress. And then our villain, Proximus Caesar, was also really cool and just a really quotable character, and he became very memeable, everything with the "what a wonderful day" and all of that and everything.
What a wonderful day!
Great set of characters and everything. Also, kind of like Alien, Romulus didn't have too many big name actors, but once again, I can kind of, as I actually watch the film, I can kind of like look past that and everything. And I love the whole view sets of all these characters, and how the first trilogy like kind of like leads into this film, and how Noah's whole clan, they're doing their own thing, and then humans, they want to come back and like retake the world, and then the one other human, William H. Macy, who was like basically the slave of the bad apes, he's like, humans are lost, society's over, let's just give in to the apes. And then Proximus Caesar, he wants apes to rule and everything, and he'll do whatever it takes to get that. And I love how he takes what Caesar was all about and everything, and then since it's been like hundreds of years since the events of that film, over time it's been like twisted, and they kind of like lost their way. They think they're doing everything like Caesar's honor, but like in reality, I feel like Caesar would like never agree with these types of apes. So I think it like really reflects on like religion and everything in like everyday world, and it's just really makes for like a really cool kind of dynamic and everything. So yeah, I this was a solid start to this kind of new-ish reboot franchise, and I'm really excited to see where they go with these characters and with this world. And I really hope they like introduce like the astronauts and different stuff like that into the sequels. So all in all, yeah, a great start to this kind of new-ish continuity, and that's why it comes in 7th place. Coming in 6th place, we have Transformers 1, and this is probably the biggest surprise on this entire list, because you know, the first few trailers and ads and everything, they weren't like crazy good. Like they decided to like focus on like lame gimmicks, like playing the trailer up in space, which just like made it look like really bad, and instead of like actually like promoting it as like a like showing like what people actually want to see, they just like kind of focus on the goofy silliness. And then as more trailers came out, it started to look better. And then as I finally went to go see the film, I was actually like blown away. Like I only went to go see this because I have some soccer buddies who are big Transformers guys, so I asked them if they wanted to see it, and they of course said yes. And I just wanted to like catch up with them since I don't see them too often, and I just want to add to my ever-growing Letterboxd obsession. So yeah, I went to it. I didn't think too much of it. Like it was just kind of, you know, regular Transformers cartoon stuff. And then until I got to like the last half hour, I was just like blown away. The whole dynamic between Optimus and Megatron was just really cool to see. I love the whole friends to enemies dynamic. It of course reminds me of like Revenge of the Sith and X-Men First Class. I love seeing like these two characters who are friends, and they kind of want like the same thing, but they have two different mindsets to get at it, and one definitely has the more evil way and forceful, and the other one is more pure and wants peace and everything. But their two view sets and how they like go against each other is just really, really cool to see. So of course with Megatron and Optimus Prime, and how they want to like overthrow Sentinel Prime, but you know, Megatron wants him dead, and then Optimus just wants him like in prison and everything. And just seeing them go back and forth at each other, and seeing like Megatron rip Sentinel and shoot Optimus, it just like it's so heartfelt and everything, like seeing their brotherhood and everything throughout the film. And then of course like seeing like the first time they met and everything. It just all the bro stuff together, it makes everything so much more heartbreaking at the very end of the film. It made for such a great finale to this film, and I would love a sequel to this new kind of cartoon Transformers universe and everything. And I totally wasn't expecting like a cartoon kind of childish Transformers movie to be my favorite Transformers movie, but this is actually my favorite Transformers movie, which is actually really shocking. I love the friends to enemies whole thing, and how Megatron became he was D16, and then he became Megatron, and then Orion Pax became Optimus Prime. My one little problem with this film is, going into it, I was kind of skeptical on all the voice actors. You know how I said with like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and Alien Romulus, I don't like how they were like no names, but in this film it's kind of the opposite. I don't like that they're big names, because I had a tough time like not picturing of the characters I know them for. So like when I hear Optimus, I think of Chris Hemsworth, and I think of Thor. And then when I hear Alita, speaking of Alita, I have a poster of her for obvious reasons. But with Alita, you know, I think of Scarlett Johansson, I think of like Black Widow, and like with Bumblebee, I think of like Keegan-Michael Key, and I think Brian Tyrese Henry, he was probably like the best because I know him the least. And yeah, the way he became more and more evil throughout the film and everything was just really cool to hear and everything. So yeah, all in all, I've been rambling on for too long, but just yeah, the way they show their friendship, and then they just tear it apart towards the end of the film, just made it for such a great film. So that's why it comes in 6th place. In 5th place, we have Gladiator II, and this is just a solid legacy sequel where it has similar beats of the first film, where it's like, you know, this slave peasant guy going into the Colosseum and working his way up to get revenge. And then towards the end of the film, it takes like a totally different turn with Denzel Washington and everything. And it just has like a great set of casting characters, you know, Paul Mescal, Denzel Washington, and Pedro Pascal, who all play really great characters. Paul Mescal, our lead, He is a really great actor who I haven't seen in too much, but I would love to see him in more films like this, more on my wavelength and stuff like that. I know he's going to be in the Beatles biopic, so that's really exciting. And then Denzel and Pedro Pascal, those are also both just great actors, where Denzel, he's like the puppet master pulling the strings and everything. You think he's helping out our lead, and then turns out he was just kind of like toying him all along, and he just wants the power for himself and everything. And then Pedro Pascal was also really great, where you think he's a bad guy at the start, and then turns out he's not just like a goon. He actually does want the same as our lead, and he helps him in the end and everything and all of that. So yeah, great set of characters, great kind of bit of familiarity, and then it twists it up towards the end of the film. So I think I heard they might do a third film, and I wouldn't actually be too opposed to that. I think they could do something cool. My personal opinion is they've done like 2 films now where it's like the good guy goes into the Coliseum and he's the underdog and he works his way up. So my idea for a third film, how about we do Rome is peaceful and happy and everything, and how about we have the bad guy is now the one going into the Coliseum, working his way up and everything like that. Maybe have that as like the new kind of twist and everything. So yeah, all in all, this was a great legacy sequel, and I'm excited to see more to come from this whole franchise. Coming in 4th place, we have Deadpool and Wolverine, and the fact that this is only in 4th place is actually very disappointing to me, because this was my most anticipated movie of the entire year. So only 4th place is kind of heartbreaking, but this was definitely like an event film. You watch it for like the first time, and it's got that big wow factor, and then if you ever like watch it again, it kind of like loses the luster and everything. But of course, the big thing of this whole film was Hugh Jackman coming back, of course, in the yellow and blue suit. Was so fantastic. We never thought we'd see Hugh Jackman at all anymore, let alone with the yellow and blue suit. So the fact that we got both of that in this film was just great to see, and seeing him alongside Deadpool was really, really cool, because, you know, they've kind of had like this whole dynamic not really meeting each other. Like Deadpool was always like making jokes about him and everything, so it felt necessary, honestly, to like finally have the 2 characters together, and it was just really fun to see. And my whole fault with this film was the fact that when I see Deadpool and Wolverine, I like hone in on the Wolverine aspect and everything, because he's one of my favorite superheroes of all time, and Logan is one of my favorite films of all time. So when I see Wolverine and I see Hugh Jackman, I just think, please, 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 let's get some more dark Logan gloominess. And it was yeah, my fault for really expecting that out of this film. It's really just Deadpool 3, so it's got all the Deadpool gags and humor and jokes and violence and everything, with sprinkled in some great cameos. You know, we got Hugh Jackman, of course, we got X-23, we got Gambit, we got Blade, we got Electric, we got Happy Hogan, we got Hulk, we got tons of Wolverine variants, we got tons of Deadpool variants. All of that was just really, really cool. But yeah, the jokes were funny, but I like serious stuff, but it's kind of my fault for expecting serious stuff in a Deadpool movie. And then it did have like some kind of like flaws, where like the villains were really just like really like thin villains, like that like had like no real like any weight to them at all. Like Cassandra Nova was like kind of just like, oh, I'm evil, blah blah blah, and then they're like, no, don't be evil, and then she's like, okay, I'm not evil, and then all of a sudden she just like became evil again. So she like didn't have too much weight to her. Like it was cool that she was like Professor X's twin sister, and then that's about it. She didn't really have to, and her whole finger thing was cool and everything. And then Paradox was also like a pretty lame villain, where he was kind of just like this boring kind of TVA guy. He had a couple funny scenes. He has risen, baby girl. Fuck! But also his whole logic of like just straight up telling Deadpool his plans at the start of the film kind of like totally just like was like a major plot hole, where if he just like didn't tell Deadpool his plans, he could have like easily succeeded. But for the plot to actually progress, he had to like tell Deadpool his plans and everything. My one other flaw is like it felt cheaper with like being on set, me being a semi-Vancouverite, being like an hour away from Vancouver. The fact that they don't film there anymore, like the past 2 movies, also kind of hurt me a bit. Doing like the Void was kind of boring, and then when we were out of the Void, the streets just felt like a set, opposed to the city of Vancouver that I live nearby. So yeah, that had a cheap factor to it. And also it just, if you like look at the actual plot of the film, it has like no real structure or weight to it. It's just really a cameo fest. And it worked for sure, but I wonder how long this little gimmick that Marvel's gonna do will keep working for me and other people until it like finally wears off and we actually like want good stories again. So all in all, yeah, it was an event. It was a big spectacle, but it's no Citizen Kane or anything like that. So it comes in 4th place. Coming in 3rd place, we have the film Sing Sing. And usually I talk about big blockbusters, CGI action films. So this film is definitely a big departure from that and basically like the complete opposite of that with this small scale, true story prison movie. And the fact that I don't talk about stuff like this too often is really showing from how many takes I have to do for this one film, because I'm just not used to talking about big, deep, emotional stuff like that. But yeah, this film was just probably like the best interpretation of prison I think I've ever seen, obviously because, you know, this is a true story and majority of the actors are the real life people who were in prison and everything. And it just goes to show you that majority of the prisoners and everything, yes, they did commit the crime years ago, but they're basically like totally different people now. They've grown up, they matured, they know the thing they did was wrong and everything, but they're still stuck here for a really long portion of their life, and they just have to wait it out and everything just because of like one stupid thing they did when they were younger and everything. And then seeing like these tough people like put on a play, let go of the social norms and everything and just goof around and have fun with each other is just really wholesome to see. And it's not what you would expect from people like this, and they just like want to have fun, and they just like want to like try to make the best of like the situation they're in and everything, and it's just really wholesome to see. And then I did cry quite a few times when they were like talking about like their kids back home and everything, and the one guy who was in prison and he came back to talk with all of them, and how he was talking about how life on the outside, it's better of course outside of prison, but of course it has its own struggles and everything that we all have to deal with and everything. So just, yeah, seeing just this whole new side of life. Of course, I've never been to prison, hopefully I'll never go, but yeah, just seeing these people that have been portrayed as like monsters and evil through film and through the news and everything, seeing what they're actually like is just really insightful and everything. And just, yeah, this film is really hard for me to talk about because it's hard just talking about like true events like this. But yeah, it was just a really insightful, emotional film and everything. I highly recommend all of you check it out and everything. All in all, that's why this film comes in 3rd place. Coming in 2nd place, we have the film The Wild Robot. And this is also a really big surprise for me because I think it was probably on my wavelength like months before it came out. Like I probably heard like a DreamWorks movie about a robot. I was like, okay, I'll probably check it out when it comes to streaming. You know, DreamWorks hasn't had too many bangers lately. And then like one of the trailers came out and it was like more of a slower trailer, and it had, I think, like It's a Wonderful World, and it just like kind of focused on like not much dialogue and just the beauty of the film and everything. And then when the film actually came out, we were like just all blown away of how amazing of this film was, because like it's got like the whole cute factor for the kids and everything with the robot and the animals and everything and the great animation, but it just also is just such a great film for also adults, where it's about parenting and letting go and being different and everything, and it's about like treating people the way you want to be treated, even if you weren't like treated very well and everything. And that's just a great message, and like it's all about acceptance and yeah, just parenting, and I hope to like one day have children eventually, like, you know, maybe 5-10 years down the road. And I feel like once I rewatch this as a parent, I'll just like it even more. Just, it had so much emotion to it and everything about this robot raising this goose and all of that. So I can't remember if I did cry. I think I was like really, really close to crying. It was just such an emotional film and everything, and it was just a really big surprise. So that's why it comes in 2nd place. But coming in as my top film of 2024, we have Dune Part 2. And this is just a phenomenal sci-fi epic. And I think the first thing we got to talk about, of course, is just the cinematography of this film. The world of Arrakis just feels so believable and everything. It feels like it's real, even though it's not. And even though it's got like so many like dull colors with like the orange and the tans and the browns and everything, it just manages to look so beautiful, even with like just such a limited palette and all of that. And also we got to talk about our score from, of course, the GOAT, Hans Zimmer. I did go to his concert back in October, and that was fantastic. And of course, he did play some Dune in that. But yeah, his score was just amazing in this film. I made the mistake in my review of saying, like, wondering if the score was different from the first film. But now that I've actually like listened to it on Spotify, it's quite obvious that the score is quite different. Of course, with like the whole Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya kind of, there was like a score between like their love, and then there was also like the worm riding score, which was really great. The worm riding scene was definitely one of the standouts of the film, and the score of that was definitely what elevated that whole scene, where it just kept, it like rose as he was like riding the worm. It's like,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
or something like that. I don't know. I'm no composer, but yeah, it was something like that. And yeah, so that was a great scene. And then also the whole Austin Butler Coliseum scene was really cool. Just the whole black and white was a really cool stylistic choice. And then the final duel between Fade Rafa and Paul Atreides was really, really cool. It was definitely a short scene, I find, but also it was just really cool. Their two silhouettes like dueling off with their swords, and then how they're like, may thy knife chip and shatter, and all of that was just really, really cool to see. And then of course all the actors were amazing. Of course, we gotta start with Timothée Chalamet. With this film, he's officially like cemented himself as like one of the greatest young actors of our generation. He's just was phenomenal in this film, and I can't wait for everything else he's gonna make, especially with Dune Messiah. And then Zendaya was great in this film, of course, and Austin Butler was great in this film, and Javier Bardem was great in this film, and Christopher Walken and Florence Pugh and everything. They were all phenomenal, especially Austin Butler. People say he's like Heath Ledger Joker good. I wouldn't go that far, but he was definitely a great villain, and he's finally like broken out of his whole kind of Elvis persona with this film and everything. And I'm just really excited to see Dune Messiah and this whole closure to this film and everything, and just the whole hero's journey of this film, and how they kind of totally turn it on its head, where it's like hero's journey, but then it's also like hero's downfall, as what Paul Atreides is doing is like for the right cause, but the way he gets there is like very kind of questionable and everything of his like choices, and it's really cool seeing like what he becomes, and I'm really excited to see how that all progresses in Dune Messiah. So all in all, this is easily my favorite film of 2024, and I would love to hear some of your favorite films of 2024, and stay tuned for me to talk about tons of 2025 movies, and for me to rank them at the end of this year. And with all that said, farewell.